Hey, everybody. Welcome to Casey Turner Presents Talk to Me. Tonight's guest, Megan Slankard. That was flawless. This is our first series, our first podcast of the series. And how would you rate that intro on a scale of 1 to 4,000?
I would give it a 3,957.
Wow, that's pretty good. I'm hoping next time we get that approval rating up just a little higher. I'm pretty psyched that the first guest of the series is Megan Slankard. She is one of the best songwriters I know, musicians, vocalists, and one of my best friends. She's also in San Francisco, California, like myself. And there's no better person to have than you for the first one to kick this thing off. Also, another good reason to have you here is just in case we were to do this earlier in the day, try to go to Facebook Live once, twice, 3 times, move it to Instagram Live, and then decide afterwards, let's just do the whole thing over, record it, and then upload it without all that other bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, I'm happy to be your guinea pig test subject.
I appreciate that. And I'm happy to wear a Megan Slankard t-shirt right now.
Heck yes!
It makes me
Get up.
earlier in the
Okay.
day. I was drinking tea to be very clear-headed and ready for this. After all the technical difficulties, I have switched to Guinness.
Smart.
I'm not sponsored by Guinness, so I shouldn't have said their brand name.
Yeah.
So anyways, it really is an honor to have you on here, and I really do appreciate it. I know you got a very busy schedule right now, being a musician
Super busy.
during this time. So
Pigs
kind
in
of
the
speaking
cupboard.
on that, what has been a normal day for Megan Slankard during this time? I mean, you're a very busy person. You're always flying to Nashville. You're recording. You're playing shows nonstop. You're very, very busy. You're one of the busiest people I've ever met in my life. If you're ever around Megan, her phone is always ringing with some kind of reminder, text message. She's a very sought out person. And so right now I'm sure your schedule has shifted quite a bit, but tell me what's a normal day looking like for you at the moment?
Oh, that is such a good question. Well, they're all blurring together. So I would say normal days, I still get up nice and early. I'm sort of a morning person. This is terrible sort of, I don't know, thing for a musician, but because all your gigs are usually pretty late, but it's working out pretty well now. Get up in the morning and I try to like not read the news anymore and, get some exercise in because the only thing that calms the old mind grapes. And make my cup of tea, which I'm currently still drinking the one that I made for breakfast because I keep forgetting about it.
Hey,
And then I go through, do my emails, and I try to leave creative space for myself every day these days because it's one of the things that keeps me grounded. So, either writing or, practicing something that I'd written before, learning something else. Switching around on different instruments. And then I have lots of little things. I've been listening to final mixes actually for EP number 2 of a 2 EP project that I'm doing with Mr. Alex Wong out of Nashville, producer out of Nashville, a friend and genius human being. So I've been listening to those, finalizing that. So I still have a lot of of those internet projects going on that haven't stopped. But the thing that has stopped that's weird is like I missed an entire tour, and sort of the booking process has definitely slowed down for the rest of the year because we don't really know what the state of everything is going to be. So like,
tell me about it.
More than anybody I know.
I started off about a month ago saying I'm unraveling 6 months worth of work. It's turned out to be more like a year's worth of work, but we're not going to think about that right now because that's all going to bring me down. But doing this podcast and having someone like you here is going to bring us all up. And I want to dive into a bunch of questions, if that's cool with you.
Let's do it.
If you are watching this right now, please do comment below. Let us know where you're watching from. Share this on your pages right now. You can start a watch party. The more you share it, the more people are going to see it, and we really appreciate it. And if you've seen Megan live before, comment below where you've seen her perform. And if you haven't seen her and you want her to come to your town after this all blows over, let us know where she should tour. I'm sure she'd like to see how many people are watching from all corners of the world. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Anywhere. Yeah. please,
Yeah.
thank you for tuning in, and we're gonna dive right in. So, I met Megan Slankard. The earliest recollection I can think of is around 2007. A dear friend of mine, Dennis Hanetta, and I, we were living in Marin, and we heard that her band was playing at a place called Makeout Room in San Francisco. Great rock club, legendary place. And so we cruised down to see the show, and we loved it. It was awesome, and I was a fan instantly. Just my ears are still ringing from that night. It was very loud. James DePrato's guitar is just, and I'm like, Megan's just rocking, and it was just such a great night. And then I think I caught at least one or two acoustic performances through maybe a Drew Pierce house show or something. But your name's always been floating around the Bay Area, and always spoken highly of. People really admire your songwriting. But most importantly, I think the thing that stands out for you, whether you're in a band situation or not, is your voice. You've got a big voice, and it's a distinct tone, and it's special. You're incredible. And
Thank
so I remember we did a radio show I was on. I was very happy to be part of. My friend Mindy had a thing called Mindy's Mix up in
I
Roner
remember that.
Park. Yeah, it's a radio station called KRCB, which is an NPR affiliate. So we had a little reach. It was kind of cool. And she asked me to bring in a bunch of musician friends from all over the Bay Area, and Megan Slankard was one of them, who I hadn't actually really met, but someone I was a fan of. And you were living in Livermore at the time, which
Yeah.
is not. It's like an hour from San Francisco, pretty much. But then like Roner Park, it's like another 40 minutes at least, or something like that. And I remember you telling me, yeah, I came all the way from Livermore, and I'm like, okay, like you're playing shows, I viewed you as a super well known. Like, why would you drive to Livermore from Livermore to be on my shitty show? And you did, and it really meant a lot, and that stuck out to me because that told me how dedicated you are to your craft, and taking every opportunity you can get to get your music heard and get it out there. And so
Yeah.
after that
It's
night, I
fun.
really just sealed me in as a fan, and someone who just wanted to follow your career as far as I could, way before I thought we'd ever be working together on any kind of capacity, which is really cool. Um,
All
so
the regrets come flooding in,
yeah,
Casey. You're like, if I only hadn't had her at that. No,
yeah.
we've
And
had good times.
I'll stop talking pretty soon and let you talk, but I wanted to kind of tee it up. So given all that, I remember being a fan of yours, and then one day I had a day job at the time. I had an actual job. I got nothing now. This is it. I sell T-shirts and I do podcasts. I had a job, and I was sitting there, and I got this email that had been sent out, I think, to just a handful of people from Megan Slankard, and I'm like, why is Megan Slankard emailing me? Cool. And the email basically said, your living situation was changing. You were going to be moving to San Francisco, and
I remember that.
overhead was changing. And while you've only played music your entire life, never actually had a quote unquote hourly job of any sorts, you were saying, asking advice from a handful of folks. Hey, if anyone has any leads on a job, waiting tables, anything I can do in the meantime while I'm making this new shift in my life. And I don't know what other people said or whatever, but I replied back to her, and I was like, you're Megan Slankard. You're not a waitress. You should just go live in your car and drive around the country and play music, and I will book it. And you got back to me and said you really appreciate that response. And we ended up getting a veggie burger at Finnegan's, which is a place I hosted up a mic at for 6 years. And we talked it over about me being a booking agent for you. And I was like, yes. And that's kind of where our relationship started on a professional level. And that was right before your record, Toke the Wreckage, came out.
I
And it
remember
was good. It was
that.
good timing. So you want to talk about that time in your life? And I mean, it feels so long ago. And I can, again, still to this day, never imagine you doing anything but strumming a guitar.
Yeah, me either. That was definitely, I mean, as a music person, as an artist in the industry, I mean, there are definitely some ups and downs, right? And that was a really rough time. I was getting out of a relationship, a really long-term relationship at the time. And I had all these really sad songs. And I was
Hey,
recording,
they're the best. Sad songs are the
love
best.
sad songs. Um, I was recording a Took Under the Wreckage with Mr. Jerry Becker, who's just a fantastic Bay Area musician who's just like just a staple here, and everybody loves him.
He's in a pretty big band too. Something that is Locomotive. What are they called?
Yes, exactly. Um, Yeah,
Train, the band's Train. He's in the band Train. Okay.
he recorded. So I had known him for a little while, and he with David Bryson of Counting Crows helped me produce this album, A Token on the Wreckage, and it was like felt like this like change of things were changing, like new music finally after a really long time. It was like really sad and heartfelt, and it was like, you know, the songs were like the pain of growing up and a token of the wreckage, and it's just like um all these sort of like definitely a shift in me as a human being. So I was really grateful to like meet you or like actually spend time with you at that point, because like that 3 month tour that you booked that I did was definitely like, you know, I cut my teeth on that. There was like a lot. I had done tons of touring before, but nothing that quite that intense or
That was
involved.
pretty strenuous. And I'll say putting that together, um, I had never done anything like that before. And the
Yeah.
amount of time I put into it, it really put a lot of stress on my relationship, personal one, and
Yeah.
myself. And I enjoyed it, but I was just hovering over my email nonstop because I was like, if someone gets back to me, I'm going to say yes. We were
Right.
trying to fill like every day, basically, of a 3 month
I think we
window.
have one day off the first month. There was
It's
not one day
insane.
off.
Yeah,
And then, and that
you
was
drove
really
like
cool.
17,000
It was
miles.
something ridiculous. And it was definitely, it was at the beginning of a newer relationship. So like the old relationship ended and I sort of immediately got into another relationship. And that relationship was already like bad news bears, but it, it, it was very taxing on that too. They're like,
Hmm.
wait a minute, what is this? And I'm like, well, this is who I am. I'm a touring artist.
It's like sign up for someone who's in the military. It's like I gotta go off to battle.
I mean, it's not quite the same as
Right.
signing up for someone in
But
the,
the dedication of like how much time you put into being away from home,
but the time
kind of what I
thing
was talking about. Yeah,
is,
but you're not gonna
yeah,
probably die on the road, but yeah.
right. This is a similar, for sure. It's like like the time being away from somebody for 3 months is a partner is can be quite taxing. Um, Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, uh, is this is who I am. It's not a lifestyle I'm choosing. It's just that's everything inside me makes me. I mean, I did a whole talk about this where I it is very it is really interesting like to be an artist so completely that it's not like you can turn it off, you know?
Hmm.
And I think that was
It's who you
definitely
are,
it's who I am. And
and
it's
that's
definitely
why you can't have a normal job. You know, you can't if you put an artist of any sorts. I mean, but we'll use Megan Slankard for an example because she's our guest. If you were like working at a coffee shop, I don't think you would do a very good job.
I mean, I might burn some milk, might scald some milk. But
But if you didn't have your outlet for your art, if you weren't writing songs and sharing them with people, I don't think you'd be a very happy person.
no, and like I do feel very grateful to have this job. I feel very grateful that I'm able to create things and make money creating things, you know, generally, maybe not so much with COVID, but I do feel very grateful and very fortunate. And I know a lot of people in my sort of, you know, career who do the same things as me who don't have like the support of their families like I do, who are in, you know, have different situations or have families of their own, like
Yeah,
children. And it makes there are a lot of, you know, different things that make it even harder for people. I am very fortunate and I do realize that, you know, I live in San Francisco and I am surrounded by my family and everybody is very supportive and I have a very supportive um, group of friends and um, it
and
makes
you have a fan base that loves you. I mean, you bring a lot of people joy.
Mhm.
You help. I mean, your music
Thanks.
gets a lot of people through their day. They relate to it, and you're also the way you write. It's not always like on point, meaning like it has so many different meanings. You know, a song, and so you know, I think everyone's interpretations of your songs and how they work through them it really helps a lot of people. So
Yeah,
uh,
I just feel very like just to finish my point is I feel very grateful that I am in the situation that I have, and I realize that not everybody, as I'm very lucky, and I want to always keep that in mind as perspective. But also, it's just like it's a blessing and a curse because like if you are fully 100% music all the time and just like thinking as an artist, always creating, always working, you know, it does get you into trouble when you try to bring other people inside, like as a partnership.
right, because it'll never be a normal scenario.
Yeah, like you will be gone on tour, and maybe if they're a musician, they'll be gone on tour, and sometimes those don't line up, and you don't see each other for 6 months, and that's it hard,
Yeah.
and it can be very taxing, and sometimes like I don't call my mom as much as I should when I'm on tour, and she's like, just checking in, and I think it's really beautiful and nice, but it was interesting during that time when we're doing that 3-month tour to like really, I was really coming into my own at that time. So that really helped me like realize so many different parts of me that I hadn't realized yet. So
I look back at photos from that tour,
we
of
were so
you,
young.
and oh my God, we were babies. I was looking at photos of me on stage, like introducing you at the shows around that time in the Bay Area. And I was like, dude, I look like I'm 4 years old. That is
You still
crazy.
look like you're 4 years old in
Um,
a way, but
that's just the Zoom touch up. It's
is
touching
it?
up
I didn't do my
my
Zoom touch.
age.
Should I have?
I think it's defaulted in. Yeah.
No, mine's not clicked.
Okay.
Mine is just clicked.
So, kind of staying on the timeline here of stuff with your career. So, from when we met, anyway. So before you did that tour, we did a sold out show at Bottom of the Hill,
Great. I
for
remember.
Token of the Wreckage. It was super sold out. We had the
Family
Family
Crest,
Crest,
P Wolf and Avi.
P Wolf and Avi, which some of you all out there might know them. They're part of a band now called Goodnight Texas. Patrick Direwolf and Avi Vinokur. So that was a really special night. I remember because like in 2011, people like bought CDs. They
Right?
still do now, but they really did then. And I remember that night because it was your record release, and you had the only option was a CD. I think you sold like 200 CDs, maybe more. It was crazy. Like no one ever sells that many CDs at one show, physical copies. I mean, there was 300 people in the room, 330 people in the room. What, 70% of the people bought a CD? That's insane. And I was just like, it was just another reminder of how important you are to your fans and how much they support you. Anytime we've done any show of any sorts where it's a record release, a celebration of something, fans show up and they really want to show their support for you. That year in particular, 2011, was a really fun, crazy year because we started it off with Bottom of the Hill, sold out. You went on that insane tour. You came back in June. We sold out Cafe de Nord. You're like, welcome back from tour thing. You did more touring in the fall. And then we did a huge thing at the Swedish American Hall,
Oh,
which
yeah.
was like even more people than the CD release show. It was like 350 people for the, like, it was like my birthday / your
Oh,
winter
yeah.
show. And we did many of those actually over the years, but that was the first time we done it. And I just remember like that year, how it was such a so much hard work to put it all together for you to go out perform it. But the response you got from your fans from that record was outstanding, and it was really great to be part of it. And that's kind of when you and I kickstarted our relationship, as me helping manage and book things and help kind of steer the wheels a little bit as you're out there playing with your band and by
Yeah.
yourself. And it was a good
Good time.
time. I
Couldn't
really
have
had
done it
fun. It
without
does
you.
not seem like that long ago, but it was a while ago. So I'm thinking like for the end of this little section of it, would you like to play a song off of Token of the Wreckage?
Oh, off a token of the wreckage. It's
Since we
funny writing all this new material. It'll be interesting to see if I can remember anything off a token of the wreckage. Here, I'm gonna move me down.
and while she's setting up here, if anyone wants to hear songs, it's tough to request them because this was pre-recorded on April 16th. But you should still comment below because both Megan and I are going to go back and look at all the comments here, and we'll reply to anything personally, questions or asking us to send her to your town or things that you want to just talk about. So just so you know, and please continue to share this video if you're just tuning in. All right, Megan Slankard, something off Token. What are you going to play for us?
You want me to play? I can play.
whatever you're feeling, whatever you can remember. I didn't prepare you for
You did.
requests or anything, but it seems appropriate to do something off there. So.
Okay, I'll do Token of the Wreckage. I haven't played this song in a year and a half. Let's see. Was that so rap? Was it half bad? Get me off to bed. I think I'm dying slightly after a day like that. Oh, it starts out dark, sun started to bark. It stabbed like a fork and nothing much forgiving about the way that we are. And though I've got a heart hanging around by the door, I've got grace hanging in the mirror, and I've got you, I've got you, I've got you, a little souvenir, a token of the wreckage. Ooh. We don't argue, we're tired of that. 2 spoons clinking her soup. We're so young. Problem is that we're doomed. You say nothing to me in return. I forget her speaking of defeat. Fair game below. Want a piece of our dreams. And I've got a heart hanging around by the door. I've got grapes hanging in the mirror, and I've got you, I've got you, I've got you, a little souvenir, a token of the wreckage. Ooh. I might be inclined to say you're quite the quandary. Oh, and I keep thinking maybe that's my problem. Just stop thinking, shamana zabana chipana zampam. Foolish to believe that I can't be foolish. Oh, my head spins, I won't stop. I wish you could just shut up. Please stop, please stop. Like I said, I got a heart. I've got grace hanging in the mirror, and I've got you, I've got you, I've got you, little souvenir, a token of the wreckage.
Awesome.
That didn't distort way too badly.
It was good. There was a couple of moments it had a little bit, but it was fine. It was There's a funny thing we always have. I've probably put on more shows than Megan Slankard than any other artist, and so we do a lot of sound checks together. And um, we have our own engineers these days, but back in the day, it's always you're using a different sound engineer every time. And she starts sound checking and singing, but I'm like, Megan, you sing like 4 times louder when you get into it. Can you give us and she'll do. I'm like, no, you're playing about half volume than you normally do.
You
We
know
did our
what?
little check. We did our little check today, and she's strumming. I'm like, can you give us something loud? She's like, blah 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 blah. I'm like, you're gonna be way louder when you get into it.
Also, I was playing a pretty loud song just now, so
Yeah, that was great. Thank you
surprise.
for playing that, and you remembered all of it.
Yeah.
It sounded great.
Thank you.
That record is called "Token the Wreckage" and came out in 2011, and it is incredible. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's crazy to think about that. So moving to box number 2 of my sheet here.
Oh wow.
We actually get through it all today. So kind of going back where it all started for you. Now you live in San Francisco right now, but you're not from San Francisco proper. You're from right outside the Bay Area. But tell us what your hometown was like. I know that your schooling was not of tradition of public schooling like myself. Talk about that a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Tracy, California. It was a really great place to grow up. I grew up right outside of the city, and it was really fun. It was like a little country area, little rural area. We had all kinds of animals, and it's just a great place to have a loud rock and roll
Are
band.
you are you allowed to share the actual name of the town you're from?
Sure, it's called New Jerusalem.
You're like the new savior. Sorry. I was trying to make a joke with that and it did not work out. I apologize.
It's okay. Definitely not. And yes, it
But
was just a great spot to be from and grow up. And in Tracy, California, there was a great music store called Main Street Music, and it's still there. It's lovely. I actually just went back to Tracy to play a show this year before all this COVID stuff, and drove through the town, and it was just like bringing up all these feelings. I'm like, I was there, and I grew up. But
and your guitar is
yeah, so
from that store.
Gilda, I bought at Main Street Music in Tracy, and I've had
That's so cool.
the pre-Fender Guild. This is a Westerly, Rhode Island Guild. It's the guitar that burned down the factory. No, I don't know. But yeah, I took guitar lessons there from a bunch of different music teachers, Steve LaRoe, and I just had them teach me Beatles songs. Should have listened better. Probably no.
Now, to get when you were young, you got into music because of the Beatles. Beatles was like
I
your
did.
gateway drug.
It was
Um,
a gateway drug of
so
music for me.
how did you even hear about the Beatles? Like, what was how did that get to the ears of little Slink Diddle? Slink Diddle, by the way, is my nickname for Megan. In case I refer to her as Slink Diddle throughout this podcast interview,
Happen to like it.
which is how it goes.
Better than some of the nicknames that I get. Um, I my so my both my father both my father and mother worked when we were kids. My mom actually was our teacher. We were homeschooled when we were growing up. Explains a lot. No, she's a smart cookie.
I
She
will contest. I've had many hangs with Mrs. Slankard, and she is very intelligent.
smart
She's always asking me questions that I don't know the answers to.
um yeah, so my brother and sister, both went to UCs, and they're smart, and I'm like the black sheep of the family, the irresponsible musician. But the cool thing was my parents supported us in whatever we wanted to do. And I remember I grew up wanting to be a veterinarian. Like, I loved all those James Herriot books, like All Creatures Great and Small. And, we had all these animals on our little ranchette. And, I was always like, whatever, getting foxtails out of chickens' eyes and horrible, but, just wanting to help. And
Did you say getting foxtails out of chickens'
it
eyes?
always would get foxtails caught in their eyeballs.
Oh
Poor babies. Yeah.
man,
I know, sorry, that was really too much information. But uh yeah, so I always wanted to do that. And then my dad one day brought home from the library, which is where we rented our movies. Not the cool place like all the other cool kids.
Like, well, wait,
Blockbuster.
what's the cool Blockbuster?
Yeah. Well, it was cool at the time. Right?
Hey,
Come on.
do you know who's making any bit of business right now? Library or Blockbuster? Library. Blockbuster ain't making nothing.
Well, okay, the library is actually the cool place, but when you're a kid and they only have 5 movies available to you, and 2 of them are Gone with the Wind,
Mm.
you do wish that your parents would rent from Blockbuster. But I'm actually grateful because it ended up that they would rotate with other libraries in the area, uh, and our local library in Tracy, California, ended up getting a VHS copy of Help. It was a Beatles movie. Um, I think it's like Richard Lester or somebody directed it, and my dad rented it. He's like, "You'll love this," and I'm like, "What?"
And how old were you? You 10 years old?
Yeah, and my dad always played like Simon and Garfunkel and the Beatles, and we'd always dance to it when we were kids, and you know, because he worked a lot from home, and we'd always dance to it, but we didn't like want to see this. We wanted to see all the cool movies, but he put it on, and it was actually love at first sight. I was like, what is this magic? I mean, little did I know they were all like probably pretty high on weed, but as a 10-year-old, it didn't matter. I didn't care. Wasn't even aware. I just knew that they were making this beautiful music, and the story was ridiculous, and I wanted to be in the Beatles so badly. And I remember after that movie, like standing in front of the mirror, like pretending to play guitar and like wanting to be George Harrison. And that's how I started this career in music, was like, I wanted to be in the Beatles and I wanted to be George Harrison. And after I knew those things weren't actually possible, I sort of modified.
You would have been a good fifth Beatle, better than like Yoko Ono, 100%.
I mean, I think George
Even
Martin.
at, even at age like 10, you would have been better. Um, so you were a big fan of the Beatles. That inspired you to. You're like, I want to be that. No more veterinarian. And
No.
so that's age 10. What year did you like? Did you start writing songs? Did you just start singing? Did you have a
Yeah.
guitar?
So I just learned a bunch of Beatles songs. My family got me this easy Beatles book that's just like, I still have it, and has like some really basic chord charts on them. It's like you could
That would
sing
be a great, if you're a Beatles tribute band, just call yourself Easy Beatles.
easy Beatles.
I
I
don't know.
mean, no.
So you guys you had an instrument in the house that you played.
So yeah, my mom had which I still have to this day, actually. She had her parents gave her a little acoustic guitars that she could sing us songs when we were growing up. She wanted to be able to sing her babies, lullabies and things like that. And of course,
Oh.
as children, we're horrible, and we're like, "Stop singing, mom!" Horrible people. But she always had this guitar around, and I had been taking piano lessons, which I hated them. If you don't connect with your teacher, or you're not connecting with the instrument, or something, it's not gonna pull you in. But after seeing that Beatles movie, I was like, may I please switch to guitar? And my mom was like, sure. I mean, if you make a better effort than you're making with this piano thing. And so I was like, yes, I love guitar already. I know it. And I remember like the first melody my guitar teacher, Steve, taught me when I was 10 was Blackbird. Just like boop, boop, ba-da-da-da-da-da. And made me so happy. It barely sounds like anything when you're just playing on a single string, but I I was like, this is for me for
I
sure.
feel like when you're learning an instrument, like I remember when I was taking guitar lessons and you're learning scales and chords, and you're just like, oh God. But then the first time you like make a sound that's even like somewhat close to your favorite song or
Yeah.
the reason you're picking up the instrument, like you're like, oh, I remember that one of the first licks I learned, which is probably like every guitar teacher teaches, is Day Tripper.
Oh yeah.
You thought I was going to say like a Led Zeppelin song.
No, I thought you were gonna say like Pearl Jam or something.
No, those are
Yeah,
hard. Those are
I know.
but just a little dun, 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 just getting like the dun 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 dun. I was like, oh, I know what's happening. I get
Yeah,
it.
I hear
It's starting to
it.
make sense. Yeah,
Yeah, I understand.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
you
I
got your yeah. Sorry.
no, I wrote my first song after that. I mean, I learned only Beatles songs, and then I wrote my first song when I was 13, which is hilarious because I wrote it at my little workstation right here. This is the very table that my parents were sitting around back in the day. It has these leaves that fold out. I have a tiny apartment, so it's like this little square now, but it has these leaves that folded out into this big round table. And I remember my family sitting around this big round table, and it's pretty late at night. And I come out of my room with my guitar, and I'm 13 years old. I'm like, I wrote a song, and they're like, what? I'm like, can I play it for you? And they're like, yes. And the song was called "It's Easy to Fall."
Can you play for us right now? No.
Absolutely not. Which is, which
That's
is
really the
never.
title was called "It's Easy to Fall." That's a great title.
I mean, I mean,
Yeah.
hilariously, it was already like sad singer-songwriter material. It's always like destroyed artist already at the age of 13. Like, what do you have to be destroyed about at that age, Megan Slankard? But it coming out of the right out of the gates.
13 years old is terrible.
Yeah, that's true. It was a little
Yeah.
rough,
Rough
you know,
times.
puberty and, but yeah, so it was a terrible song, and my parents were so overjoyed and supportive, and so I was like, okay, I like this. And then from there I joined this little open mic thing they had called Backstage at the Odeum, and it was this every last Saturday of the month at the Lolly Hanson Senior Center in Tracy, California, hosted by Dana Ray Park, and aired on community access TV. So yes,
Oh.
there's that floating out there of little baby Megan. I was probably 14 or something when I
I
started
want to
playing.
see that.
I have some video and it's real embarrassing. I will tell you all
You should
one of
release that on
my
your
most
Patreon.
embarrassing things. I used to sing with a British accent because I love the Beatles so much.
Kind of like Princess Leia, a little.
Right. She had a British accent in the first half of the first movie. Yeah. So that was really embarrassing. And a lot of that is out there somewhere floating around.
Just to kind of get a visual and an audio visual, if that's a word, can you just say a token of the wreckage? Just say the word, sing it, but in a British accent. Like,
Absolutely not.
oh, come on, a token of the wreckage. No, it's Irish. I don't know what that was actually.
I
A,
liked
to-
it.
a token of the wreckage.
I think we're running out of time, so we should
Oh
probably.
shit. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we got the guitar, we got the first song. Let's jump into the first album. So your first album was called Lady's a Pirate, and it was co-produced with you and your brother, I believe, or your
Yeah.
brother engineered it, which is super cool. And it's got a picture of you kind of sad sitting outside there.
My first boyfriend, broke up with me the day we took that photo.
Classic Megan Slankard style to have something sad happen 5 minutes before something important happens.
I know that's always a thing for me.
But
Uh,
that photo is great. It really captures the whole mood.
I know me and my like that's my comfort zone right there, and like a little tank top with a jeans and some sneakers with our acoustic guitar, being all sad. That I was probably 17-ish, maybe 16 or 17 when we took those photos. We took, I think we released the album when I had probably just turned 18, but I had started recording it when I was 16. My brother he's a sort of a computer nerd. So he had this computer software called Digital Performer. And we had this little
Nice.
Motu 828 audio interface and plugged in some microphones. And he's like, this is how you do this. So he helped me engineer a lot of that record, which was amazing because I didn't really know what I was doing. And he sort of got me started, and I, took over. It took me a little while to get it all done, but it was really fun and a huge learning experience. I mean, I learned a lot. Number one, back up yo shit. Back it up.
Oh.
Don't make an album and not back up your stuff, because when the computer dies, You have to call
Album
your dad.
dies.
What's that?
I said when a computer dies, album dies.
Album dies. Thankfully, everything, we did have a very big scare where everything was lost for a minute, for a couple of days. And then thankfully, he was able, my dad is kind of a computer genius. Back up your shit. Sorry for
Back,
yelling at you.
back it up. Back it up. Back it up. Hey, back it up.
Back it up.
That should be your next Patreon song. Oh, hey, what? Back it up.
No.
Okay. So we're gonna speed along this timeline a little bit because the time is a little tight here. So we got the first album now. We got the guitar. We got gigs happening. You're playing
Gigs.
gigs. Your first paid gig is under your belt.
My first
You're
paid gig, December 23rd. I don't remember the year. I was 15. Great Plate in Tracy, California. This bar and grill. I played there. I got $75 for 3 hours. Pretty good, especially. I
hey,
mean,
it's a better deal than what you're gonna get now for playing live, which is zero. Because there
right.
is no. Oh, I guess you could play it on your phone, but
You know, it's different. But I played every Wednesday every Wednesday for a long time, and
yeah.
it was crazy. I mean, I learned a lot about live performances. I built up my chops. I remember the music store owner Ken Cephalo being like, "You have to play more originals," which is funny because that's all I do now. But I mean, people would get in bar fights in front of me, and yeah, people.
That sounds terrifying.
It's pretty funny. There was a huge big screen TV above my head, like above my head, and it was
Probably projecting your show, right?
sports games.
Oh, okay.
And it was always disconcerting when people would clap in the middle of your song. You're like, I must be doing really great. Oh, yeah. Somebody made scored a goal or whatever. Sports happens in sports.
Yeah, the closest thing I had to that was hosting open mic nights that had like TVs on the other side of the bar, and so it's like someone's playing a song in front of people for the first time ever, and then everyone's clapping and they're excited, and then they realize that the Warriors just scored.
Yeah,
Bummer.
pretty
Um,
much.
so now like you've got your chops down, you got a gig. This is your first real job. You're
Yeah.
rocking it. At some point in the line, before you're on the show What Not to Wear, which is on TLC, which is crazy, and we'll talk about that, you also met the Dire Straits dude, David Knopfler, and
Yeah.
went on tour with him.
Yeah.
What?
I
Like
know.
how does that happen? And why can't we do it again?
I know. Well, so David is a co-founder of Dire Straits with his brother Mark, and David is an amazing singer-songwriter out of England at the time, out of England and London. And so he saw some of my music on some website somewhere, and he just emailed me and he was like, "Hey, I like what you're doing." You know, from it was like from one singer-songwriter to another. I just want to say give you props and say good job. And that was it. It was super innocent, super
That's
sweet.
crazy.
He didn't even really know who I was. He definitely didn't know who I was. He just reaching out and saying good job, which was crazy. But me being like a classic rock like junkie, like listening to all my parents, stealing all of my parents' CDs, I was like, Knopfler, Knopfler. So I was like, yeah, and I emailed back. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to listen to my music. You would happen to be David Knopfler from Dire Straits, David Knopfler. And he was like, well, yes, actually I am. Thank you for, noticing and reaching out. And
Can you do
then
it? Can you do that response in an English accent?
absolutely not. Um, and then so we just developed a sort of, I like was like, hey, do you mind if I ask you some questions about music? And he was like, I would be happy to answer them. He was super sweet, super amazing, and we ended up becoming buds. And it was really nice. And he was like, one day he was just like, hey, wouldn't it be hilarious if you went on my upcoming tour, like as the opening act? And I was like, yes, that would be amazing, please. And he was like, okay, well, you're a young person. You need to bring your dad because I don't want to babysit you. And I was like, but I'm, 19. And he was like, I want you to have a chaperone. Yes, I would love for you to come bring a chaperone because I'm not going to be babysitting you when we're not playing. I mean, he said it nicely. And so I brought my dad and we did this gigantic tour, not gigantic, but for me, it was really gigantic. We did this like really great, amazing 3-week tour in Germany. I was all over Germany and in these beautiful old churches and rock clubs, and I was like in over my head. I had the best time. And the coolest thing was not only was David really fun to hang out with, but he was amazing. He's an amazing musician. He's hilarious and he has a cool accent, but he was also a vegetarian and I was a vegetarian. So they'd always make him an amazing meal because he's like the headliner. And I got the same thing. So most of the time, everybody else was just jealous of our food, which was okay with me.
That's a very classic Megan Slankard recap of a tour. How was the shows?
Food.
Pretty good, but the mac and cheese, way better.
I love food. So good.
That's amazing. So then you're on this show, What Not to Wear, which I'm sure a lot of people watching might know you and your music because of that show. That was
Yeah,
like a major leg up at the age of like 20 years old,
20
right?
or so, 20 something.
Yeah, very young. And I know like afterwards, the album you had out at the time was your first rock record with a different band that you have now.
Yeah.
The record's called Freaky Little Story. It has like 2 or 3 songs on it that you still play live.
Yeah.
You work back in there. But you sold thousands and thousands and thousands of copies of that after the show aired, right? I mean,
Yeah. It
it
was
must have just
crazy.
felt like,
My website broke that day that show aired. And it's just like it gives you like sort of perspective, like the power of like TV and good promotion exposure. It's like it was suddenly people just get to hear you and that's great. And
well, without getting too much into it, but for those of you guys that know, What Not to Wear is a show set up where they surprise you one day and let you know that you dress like a slob or whatever, that you don't dress up to par with how you should be dressing.
yeah, reality
So
over TV show.
that's got to feel pretty good when you get a bunch of people come into a room saying, "Hey,
You've always dressed horribly.
we
Yeah.
yeah." So you you were submitted somehow onto the show.
X band submitted
They
me.
picked
First
okay, they picked you, and leading up to it, they had to surprise you at a gig you were playing in San Francisco. They
Ireland
pop in the
32.
room,
Yep.
full band show at a bar you're playing,
I was wondering why
and
all my friends were there. They were all in on it.
it's crazy. So I think you can see some of the episode on YouTube. I don't know if it's still there or not, but so it's a crazy adventure. You're having fun with it. They give you some money to buy some clothes. They bring you in. They dress you up. You're wearing things that you wouldn't normally wear. You were saying like high heels
Yeah.
and but then the line got drawn for you when they wanted you to change your hairstyle
Right.
or they wanted you to color your hair,
They wanted me to color
and
my hair.
it was a pretty traumatic point in the scene because you cry on camera because you're so um true to yourself about like you drew the line to yourself like I don't want to change my natural who I am, and I feel like that you took that really personally as you should have, and I feel like that is when I'm watching that, that's when I'm one. If I didn't know you, that's when I'm won over. I'm like, okay, I like this girl, she's cool, and I'm sure like
Baby.
tons of people were on your side, especially like the majority of people that watch that show are like women aged 40 plus probably, and they were probably like, fuck that dude trying to make her color her hair. You go, girl. And that must have just like won the hearts of millions of people.
I mean, I wouldn't say millions of people, but whoever watched that,
Billions of people.
billions and trillions of people. Funny thing is, like that moment definitely was the most referenced thing for like when people would be like, "I saw you on that show. Thanks, thank you for sticking to your guns," or "I'm really happy that you like stayed true to yourself." And like dyeing your hair is not really that big of a deal. People do it all the time, and it's
No,
fun.
but it
Like
was to you at the time,
see a thing. But
and
at the time, it was really like it was one of the things that I'm doing all these. I'm trying on high heels. I'm trying on dresses and skirts and things
you're
that
doing
I'm a
it.
very
Yeah.
tomboy kind of girl, and I always was comfortable in like whatever flannel and t-shirts and stuff like that. I mean, the cool thing about the show, I will say, is like, yeah, it pushed me to try things, but they were very loving about it, which is crazy for reality TV. And the hosts are actually still like Clinton Kelly, one of the hosts. It was Clinton Kelly and Stacey London, and they have been very supportive. They just will reach out every once in a while, and I'm always like, oh shoot, they're on
I've seen them reply to you on Twitter and stuff. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
they're very
And
sweet
then,
people.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I
that
remember. Sorry. You're like, who's being interviewed here, asshole? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much.
no,
Go
you're
ahead.
doing great. There's a lag. It's on the internet. No, it was really great. I really appreciated it, and I actually do really like. I'm not a huge fan of reality TV. It's hard and crazy and tends to, mock people and bring out the worst in people. But this was actually I I genuinely think this was a good show. At least I got such good experiences from it, and someone
Yeah. Kiss
own
their ass. It's reality TV. They
from what
want that
someone who doesn't
cry.
own a TV or has never really watched TV, because my
Right.
mother wouldn't watch it, let us watch it when we were growing up. I didn't even know what the show was. So yeah, while I was pushed to beyond the point where it made me uncomfortable, I think in general I got a lot out of it, and I'm still grateful like what it did for my music. And I'm still grateful of those hosts because they're pretty cool people.
Let's play a song from Freaky Little Story.
Me live.
Yeah. We got about 10 or 15 minutes left here. I do have a little bit more I want to talk about, but I
Yeah.
like to break it up with some songs here.
Yeah, here we go.
If you saw that episode, comment below and let us know when you saw it and if that's what turned you on to Megan's music.
Okay, so here's a classic from Freaky Little Story. Those souls are comfort. She said that's credit card. New shoes walking home. She don't own a car. She turns the lights on. Electric bill is high. She's glad Harry's out. She hates to cry. Under these dirty skies or dirty wings, they let her fly. Under these dirty skies or dirty wings, they let her fly. They let her fly. Oh, give me some reasons. Not just enough is enough. She pricks her skin. Oh, from thinking she could take too much. Just a fairy tale. She laughs outside. She can't keep it up. Sleeping girl has to close her eyes. Under these dirty skies and dirty winds, they let her fly. Under these dirty skies and dirty winds, they let her fly. Oh, the city like sirens melting in the wind, fading when it is exposed to the sun. Turning on the shower, she is melting in the water, she is fading in the moonlight, turning into skies and dirty winds, they let her fly. Ooh, they let
Very nice. I have heard that song 4,000
9 million times.
5 million times, and I still love it every time I hear it. And every
Right.
time I see someone hear it for the first time, they always are like, "Oh my god, this girl is amazing." This is Megan Slankard. In case you're just tuning in, Casey Turner. This is the new podcast I'm starting. Casey Turner presents Talk to Me and whoever artist. The next one we're doing is this Monday, 4/20, April 20th, with John Craigie. And if you go to caseyturnerpresents.com, you can see the calendar's got all of them lined up. We've got a really, really full lineup coming up with these. I'm super psyched about it. We originally were going to do them all live right at the right time, but we had such an epic fail with this one today that I've decided to pre-record them and then re-upload them because that put me in a complete panic attack of
Hey, you did great.
pissed offness. But I'm really happy that Megan's here, and thank you, Megan, for everything. So really quick, so that record, I don't know why I said really quick. It's just that was a nervous reaction. So moving on, that record, Freaky Little Story, featured a totally different band than you have today. The
Yeah.
band you have today is Kyle Caprista on drums, Danny Blau on guitar and keys, Jeff Simons on bass, James DePreto on lead guitar, and yourself, with some interchanging people sitting with you from time to time, but that's the core group.
Yeah, the core group.
And those guys are incredible. And you guys have been together for how long now?
12 years.
That's amazing. That's incredible. But
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they're all on Token of the Wreckage,
Yes.
and they're also all on the latest release. Now you've got 2 EPs coming out soon. They're
Yeah.
done. They're in the bag. But the last full length record you have out was from a few years ago called Running on Machinery.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I got to be part of that recording process, just kind of listening in and being there. And it was really cool because it was one of the first times you worked with an actual producer, like on every song.
Yeah, Mr. Alex Wong from Nashville, Tennessee. He's an amazing artist and producer there. He's genius, and it was definitely a learning experience for us all because we
It
hadn't.
was fun watching it.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
saw, some tight tension moments of just trying to decide why we're doing this and that. And I think it was really great for the band, for
yeah,
everyone to have that, just kind of like, we don't get to make every little decision moment. Like there's another team member in here.
yeah, it was really cool. And
And
is we did a lot of it live and did a bunch of overdubs in Nashville in Alex's then new studio. It was really cool.
it's a great record. And we did a release for that show back in October of 2015 at Great American Music Hall in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And we sold that thing out. It was packed. It was the biggest show Megan's ever done. There were over 600 people there. And that was such a great night. I'll never forget seeing your name. I mean, I've seen your name on that marquee before when you've played there with other bands
But it's
opening.
pretty cool. It's still a cool like seeing. I don't know. It's kind of fun seeing your name in print somewhere and like seeing it on a marquee is like a
But
musician. It's like
but
still.
that marquee in general was like, so for me as a promoter to see Casey Turner presents Megan Slankard. Actually, I have a. This was it's kind of what it looked like. There it is. Um, that
Yeah.
that venue is legendary in San Francisco, and I've had, it was a dream to ever be able to put on a show there, let alone it be your band and then to pack it like that. And that was amazing. So that record came out. We did some more touring. Um, well, before we jump into Running on Machinery, really quick, I want to talk about. There's so much to talk about. 2012 was a crazy year. That was the year after Token came out, and so many fun things happened that year. One of the things that happened was you sang a duet with Train at all the major San Francisco venues. You did it at. I mean, these are very small venues for Train, but for us, it's like those are the venues we want to be playing. So it was like
Right.
Cafe de Nord, Great American Music Hall, Bimbo's 365 Club, Slim's, The Independent, and the Fillmore. I've got this poster here of that run because I love all these venues. I cut off the part that says Train Tour because I like Train, but not that much. But I like this poster a lot. So, anyways, those are the venues you played, and you sang a duet with them. What was that song called? Do you remember?
Bruises. It was
Bruises.
wild because so my friend Jerry is in the band and he was just like, "Hey, do you want to come and just like audition to sing this song with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd be honored." I mean, I love Train. I love pop music and you know, it's like I like all kinds of music really, and but it's pop music. I've never been able to write pop music. All the music that I write is kind of this weird indie, like never a good love song. So
I would argue that some of your Patreon songs you accomplish the pop music.
thanks.
Um, you just haven't put them on your records yet, but
Yeah, I know. It's just like it satisfies that like need, like that part of me that I get to, listen
but
to and
so let's talk about really quick how that came about. Cause we're running a little short on time. I'm going to wrap this up soon, but like I know that I think Ellie King was originally the person that was going to be touring with them
so
and doing that duet.
El King. I don't think she was originally going to tour with him, but
Oh, was it okay?
El King did a demo of that song with them. I
Okay.
don't know if they were ever going to use that, but her voice is so amazing. But they had me come in and audition, and I didn't even. It was really weird because I don't even. Nobody actually said you're hired, but they're just like, so we'll see you tomorrow, and I was like, okay. So it was really cool, and every night of that tour, it was a short little tour, 6 dates, but in San Francisco, every night of that, they were like, hey, can you sing harmonies on this song? I was like, yeah. And they're like, hey, can you sing harmonies on these 3 other songs? I was like, yeah. So by the end of the run, I was on stage almost the whole time,
You were in
which
the
is really
band.
fun because I love singing harmonies. It's my favorite thing to do, and it was a really cool experience, and I'm super grateful for it. And
I remember one of those. I only got to go to one of those shows. I went to the one at Great American Music Hall, and that's the one that your band opened for because you
yes,
sang with everyone. You sang on all the shows, but you only opened for one of them.
yeah, someone
And
stole my favorite shirt at that show. I was so mad.
I remember also it was a big, it was a big show. I mean, it was maybe the first time the band played Great American, possibly as the full band. It was a big night. We were really psyched, and I remember it was super packed. Obviously, trains playing Great American Music Hall, and I'll never forget this because so if you're backstage at Great American Music Hall, the stairs are really steep going down to the green room,
Oh yeah.
super steep. And so what they do is before you go on stage, they have you standing on the stairwell. The guy goes, "You guys ready?" Yeah, and they drop the house lights. You wait a second, and they go, "All right, you go out there." So Megan's up there, and I'm around the corner still in the green room. I'm gonna come up with everyone. I was like grabbing a beer or something, and I hear this boom, 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 boom like a guitar, and I'm like, "Holy shit, what was that?" And I go, "Megan, are you okay? Megan, are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh God," I'm running, and Megan had just fallen on the
Oh,
stairs
stairs. I fell
going up
stairs. Yeah,
on your guitar, but it didn't
on my
break it.
guitar. No, just yeah. That was a fun thing to do. 30 seconds before you go on stage.
Dude, that was crazy.
But
But the
yeah,
show was awesome. You rocked it, and I remember just how much fun that week was, and it was just surreal. All these photos and videos were out with like Megan singing with Train, and it was really really cool. That was a really fun one. And then also that year, the first time she's done this a handful of times now, but that was the first time you ever did the national anthem for the San Francisco Giants baseball.
oh yeah, that was scary. Wait, was that the year I had a broken arm?
Yeah, you still had a sprained wrist from a fall you had in San Diego, which
Yeah,
we can talk
correct.
about on other stories. Yeah. But going out and singing the national anthem for 42,000 people, that must have been terrifying.
It is scary because number one, that's the song that you're not supposed to mess up. But number two, it's also there's this weird delay. Like I don't remember how many, microseconds or what milliseconds they say the delay is, but it's like, oh say can, oh say can. It's like this really crazy thing. So you're like, don't pay attention to the other Megan. Don't pay attention to her. Don't pay attention to the audience. There's Lucille. Don't pay attention to Lucille.
You know
It's
what's crazy? There is no delay, but there is another Megan.
oh no. Nobody
No,
would say that.
no, not really, but to you, maybe.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So you're blocking out the surroundings around you, trying to remember the words and trying to sing it. That sounds terrible.
I mean, it's the kind of terrible that makes you want to do it again.
How many times again?
How many times have I done it? 5?
I think 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, going back to your British accent joke, and I made the Princess Leia comment. This really happened. We got an email from the Giants. They wanted to have her back, and we were super psyched, obviously, honored. And they were emailing with me and they're like, hey, so this particular day that we're asking her to play, it's Star Wars Day. Do you think we could dress her up as Princess Leia? And I didn't even ask Megan. I was like, totally. And then I text her. I was like, you want to do this? And she goes, are you serious? This is the best thing I've ever heard in my life. And they're like, well, we're going to order her a wig and everything. And I'm like, I don't know if she needs a wig. Let me talk to Megan. She's got a lot of hair. I think we can tie that thing up. And you did. You bunned up your own hair. They
Yeah.
gave you the white robe. We've
The
got some
white
great
robe.
photos of it. Maybe we'll post some photos of it below in the comments.
Yeah. There's one of me dancing with Lucille, which is the
It's
Giants
amazing.
mascot. I love that. Yeah.
That
It
was
was
the
good
greatest
time.
day. It was. It was. I remember I posted. I took a photo of you on the field there, and then we put it on your Facebook page, and it broke the internet. It was amazing. But I
It's
remember the first time you did the anthem. We were so psyched, and they never they only let us do this one time. This is back in 2012. They let so we had Megan's family there and myself and my girlfriend, and we all got to go down on the field and sit in the dugout and talk. And we didn't really talk to players, but Pablo Sandoval winked at Megan, and she
yeah.
freaked out.
This was back when we were on this particular date, we were on the home teams in the home teams dugout. No, wait, were
It's
we?
visitors,
Was still
visitors,
visitors. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's back when the Giants were actually close to us.
and they won the World Series that year. That was 2012. So that
They
was
lost
just
that game, I sang, but they won the World
they
Series.
did. I think they've lost every game you've sang at.
No, not the last one.
Okay.
I broke the curse.
But no, it was a really great day, and I remember I don't know if we did Facebook Live or just video. I probably just videoed it. I don't think they had live back then, and I was kneeling down to do it, and they said I was okay to kneel. Everyone else had to stand up. I was like, I'm gonna video. They're like, you're cool. In hindsight, I'm like, wow, I kneeled during the anthem. Oh shit, I did it before Kaepernick. What?
Statement.
Anyways, I did it because I was videoing Megan singing, and I got a grass stain on my jeans. I never washed those jeans
Why?
because it had the grass stain from the Giants field on it.
Please tell me you
So
watch
cool.
the games now.
I don't even know where those jeans are.
Mm.
But anyways, that was really a really neat thing, and that was a fun story. So
Yeah.
running on machinery. Oh, one last thing that happened in between all this. You started a web series called
Oh,
Indie, which was kind of like a Portlandia version of Megan's Crazy Brain, and
was
it was
Portlandia even a thing at that
hilarious.
time?
Probably not. They ripped you off. I heard
No, that's not true. But
it was 2013, 2014, and you've only done 3 episodes that are live on YouTube, which you can look up Indie. It's spelled INDIYE. Do you
I
want to quickly talk about the inspiration behind that and what the f? It's hilarious. It's amazing. I'm in a couple episodes, and I was so excited to have her do more and be part of it. But
well,
it
we had a
takes a
lot of
lot of work. A
lots of
lot.
it was like a it was like a one woman show, except for I got all my friends. So I filmed it on my phone. I edited it together in iMovie. It's like really low budge, like super low budge. But the whole concept was I feel like a lot of the time my job is hilarious, like laugh out loud hilarious, like things that happen to me, things that I do to myself. It's just like, why? And I see a lot of my fellow artist friends all going through the same thing. We all have those hilarious horror stories. So I really wanted to make like a little sketch show that sort of highlighted like what people's different roles are and the things that they went through. And I don't even know if it'll be hilarious to people who weren't musicians or artists, but we did like different uh just sketches like about KC being the manager and like the gigs that we had to say no to. And
We
obviously a lot of it's made up, but
we had this one exchange where I'm the manager and I've got this list of gigs that have been offered to us. Let's just run down the list. And one of them was let's reenact the moment. I go, okay, oh, here's one. The new San Francisco library is opening up.
I'm like, oh, really? That sounds great.
Yeah, and they want you to play the grand opening.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
The thing is, though, you got to be really, really quiet. It's a library.
No, but it's funny because like a lot of this stuff is inspired by
It
true events for us. And if anybody wants to check it out, go to YouTube and just type in like Megan Slankard indie INDIYE, because I put a DIY in there. I thought it was clever. It's really hard to spell and people can't pronounce it, but hindsight is 2020. Check it out. There are 3 episodes. They each have feature a musical guest, including Steve Poltz.
That's right.
He's our first musical guest.
And that was pre-stroke Steve Holtz.
Wow.
My friend Steve Holtz, who's actually going to be on this show in May 7th, I think. I don't remember what day exactly, but I think it's May 7th. He had a stroke on stage years ago, but that was like right before that happened. So
Pretty long hair too. He's got short hair.
pre-long hair, pre-stroke. Yeah,
I'll like
we'll talk more.
put together.
Steve. That's great. The indie episodes are really funny. You're gonna love them. We're well over an hour at this point. At this point, it's like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just cover this last few topics. Play one last song to close this out, and call it a day. Is that cool with you?
That sounds great.
So some of these things that we're talking about, we had talked about in the Instagram, Facebook Live we did, but that thing's only going to live for so long, and we wanted to do it proper how we wanted to do this one. So we've been repeating a couple of our stories, probably a little tighter. We got it tightened up, but we also added a whole bunch more stuff because this is way more relaxed than me worrying about Facebook Live and staring at comments while we're
Doing
talking.
great. You're doing
Because
great.
that shit freaks me out. Okay, so let's talk about a couple things that people may not know about you. One
Okay.
of them is Indy. Was actually a good example. You've got this really hilarious side to you, dry humor side. I mean, we're always talking about skits and ideas. Oh my god, that'd be a really funny skit, and we're always writing it down. And but there's some other things about you that people don't know. One is you're obsessed with Star Trek.
I do love Star Trek quite a bit.
Now, what?
Uh,
I mean, that's great. Star Trek's
Very
cool.
wholesome and very inclusive, pretty progressive.
Was that at the library too? Your dad rented it for you, or how did you get into Star
No,
Trek?
so when we grew up, we had a TV that was the size. It was probably, like a 12 by 12, and my parents kept it in the closet. But anytime they would be like gone, like a business meeting or something like that, they would pull it out and they'd be like, entertain yourselves. We got 2 channels. One was like PBS, and then one was something else. But one of them would do reruns of Next Generation mostly, and I just loved it. I mean, I love space, I love time, I love those concepts. I am a nerd, and so I like that I can't understand any of it. I like how it baffles me and how beautiful it is, and so that was always like a thing for me. I have many songs about space. I have a song called Carl Sagan that will be on my newest EP that we released this year. I I've always loved that. And there's something so like upstanding about Jean-Luc Picard and Captain Catherine Janeway, all of these really cool,
All
cool.
the all the nerd dudes out there are just going like, "Marry me, please,"
It's cool.
and you're like, "No."
Nobody wants to marry a musician. So Star Trek
If
definitely.
you would like to, if you'd like to marry Megan Slankard, please comment below, and she will go through all the submissions. And just like Love is Blind, which I just saw on Netflix,
Okay,
she's going to accept your proposal after this.
you'd be
If you join, but you have to join her on Patreon first. Okay, sorry. Back to your science talk.
Oh, this is such a good idea. I'm so glad I joined you here. I yeah, so Star Trek, I'm obsessed with a few things. Star Trek, trying to reduce my garbage and tea. So like there are a few things and they're all kind of nerdy and silly, but they're really, I think those are like the things that people wouldn't automatically know about me. And
Yeah, I mean, like when you're on stage, you dress up really nice, you got the makeup, your hair is done, but really, you're just a hippie from 1992. You might as well be Ani DeFranco with better songs. No offense, Ani.
that's mean.
It was.
She no, I'm just I want to be I'm just like a rock and roll kid at heart, and I, you know, I know you go.
I was just gonna say you're a rock and roll kid at heart, but you're also good at other stuff. Like for the 99.9% of your gigs is music, but sometimes you lend your voice to other aspects. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, I do a lot of session work because that's the way you it's a good way to help, you know, bring some income in when gigs are scarce and things like that. So, but I've done, including that, I've done some uh, occasional voiceovers, which are always really fun and entertaining. Um,
The other day we were joking and we joked about this in the Instagram one about her doing a voiceover work if she was describing a scone. Do you want to
right.
quickly give us a preview of that?
Yeah, I like wikied the scone and did it in my like I feel like people from Wisconsin might be like the friendliest people on earth. And uh so I always have this like I try to like take on that friendliness and do like the very friendly commercial voice. So it would be like a scone is a baked good, usually made of wheat or oatmeal, with baking powder as a leavening agent, and baked on sheet pans. A scone is often slightly sweetened and occasionally glazed with egg wash. The scone is a basic component of a cream tea. It differs from tea cakes and other types of sweets that are made with yeast.
That's really good. Like that's stupid good.
It's pretty funny. I've done stuff for
Earlier,
fire safety. I did a
yeah.
medical procedure one time for like an educational video. I mean, obviously not all of them get the friendly Wisconsin mom voice, but you know, some
Yeah,
of them are much
I
scarier.
could never do that. Like you're asking me earlier about what what voices I would do, and I the only voice I'm good at is like the dude that smokes cigars and drinks too much whiskey voice.
Scare it.
So if he was talking about
Scone.
scones, he'd be all like, well, a scone is good. You can get it at Starbucks. I like scones, and yeah, this next number is by Miles Davis. I don't know. Um, but you're like you're just I think the reason it's so good, you just hold that tone super crisp. Like the scone is that's
It's
a
all about dancing around your syllables,
mm.
trying to be clear.
Well, I think that you're pretty good at that. Maybe you should do the voiceover work for this show.
I will.
The
Casey
intro
Turner
needs help.
presents
A
Talk to
lot of it needs help.
Me.
Okay, well, one way you can support Megan Slankard 100% is go to patreon.com and look up Megan Slankard, Patreon, Megan, MeganSlankard. Um, she's got over 60 songs released on there that she's written over the last few years. And for a very low amount of money, you can be a patron and not only hear all those songs, but hear the new ones that she's going to release and all sorts of other things she does behind the scenes. You get a little bit more of a peek behind the artistic process. And you're going to be supporting her basically directly by doing that. So definitely sign up for her Patreon. You have nothing to lose whatsoever. And if you'd like to support this podcast in any ways, you can go to, I'll put the links for PayPal and Venmo and stuff in here. And I'll also put the link for your Patreon. I think it'd be appropriate to close this out with a song,
Yeah.
given the fact that it feels like end of times for a lot of people. Megan has a really beautiful song
And I
called Next to Me that's about the end of the world. And I know that she has that queued up ready to play because she played that in our podcast that failed to go live to Facebook. So you want to talk about this song and
yeah,
close
so
us out?
I recorded this song as a little demo a long time ago. Um, and I played at a gig one time, and Alex Wong, a friend of mine, who was actually a new friend of mine, he was in the audience, and he was like, "I'd like to produce that song for you sometime." And so we actually had a conversation, and we decided to make "Running on Machinery" together, my current album, um, that has been released. And this was really fun because we did a robot symphony and a string symphony with like a string part, and it was super fun. It was my first time arranging, and he's an amazing producer. And so I always love this song because I tried to think of the most romantic thing. What is the most romantic thing to me? And it didn't need to be this grand gesture. The whole thing was like, what is the single simplest most romantic thing? And it was, to me, it was holding hands at the end of the world. And so I wanted to write a song about it. And obviously, if I'm going to write a song, a cute song on a cute ukulele, cute instrument, it's got to be sort of sad too. So a sort of, you know, it's got to be Armageddon. So I wrote this song, and it's on Running a Machinery. And I just also want to mention that I have 2 brand new EPs coming out, and they're also produced by Alex Wong. They'll be released later this year. One's a belligerent rock EP, and the other one's like a solitary tear cinematic EP with computer robot sound. So yes. So this is called Next to You, and goes like this. Is that snow? I don't think so, but tell the kids it is, and let them play in it. Soft and brittle ashes from the neighborhood. Through the window, you can view the light show. It's nothing like I've ever seen. Too amazed to do anything, like even tell the kids to come inside. You know, I've never been to Barcelona. I never learned to speak the language. Many, many years ago, when you won me over, we never made time for this. Oh, but now I want is to be next to you. Turn up as our bodies fuse. Oh, the melting world, oh, it just slips away. Our eyes turn up and we go cold and gray. Oh, and then we are blown away. So that's a shockwave. It pulls us under, it pulls us back together. There's only time to grab your hand, only time to squeeze and hold it tighter. You know, I never swam the Rio Grande. I never had a chance to learn the violin. Many, many years ago, when you won me over, we never made time for this. Oh, but now I want is to be next to you. Oh, I hold you close as our bodies fuse. Oh, the melting world, it just slips away. Our eyes turn up and we go cold and gray. Oh, but then we are blown away.
I love that song. That's Next to You off of Megan's record, Megan Slankard's record, Running on Machinery. You can listen to it again, full production on Spotify if you want, or buy it. That was a really great conversation. I think we went for about an hour 40, hour 30, but that's cool.
Gosh.
And I could talk to you way longer. We got to almost everything on the list though. I had a pretty packed list
Amazing.
of
That's a lot.
preparedness. But thank you so much. Definitely check out Megan on Patreon, and thanks for listening to the first of many of these talks I'm going to have. The next one is on Monday, 420, with John Craigie. Go to caseyturnerpresents.com and you can find out the whole schedule of everyone coming up. It's everyone I've had a show with. So like John Craigie, Robbie Folks, Sam Chase, G Love is going to do one, Alejandro Escovedo. It's going to be a lot of fun. So come back and listen to some more. And thanks again to my very special guest this evening, Megan Slankard, for being here and going through all the rocky waves we had tonight, making this
Hey,
thing
it was
happen.
great. I had a
And
great
let's hope that this uploads and we all get to experience this together. So,
Thanks, Casey Turner.
all right, everyone, please stay
Yes,
safe,
ma'am.
take care of one another, and tune back in Mondays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time for a new interview, song, and chat with Casey Turner. Oh, we got a little, let's see, a little outro. Let's see here. Let's see if this works. Every show I do, live show, I always have this song close us out. Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Someone once said the walkout music is the most important because that's what everyone leaves with. Just the chorus. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody. All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Casey.